What's up? What's up? My name is Tasha, and this is the Healthy, Happy, and Hot Show, where I take my 18 years as a fitness and nutrition coach and discuss how to become your best and healthiest self in a way that is simple and sustainable for you. If it is your first time listening in, welcome. And if it is not your first time, welcome back. In previous episodes, we've discussed some things, mindset, and then we also, last episode, talked about how to indulge the right way. So if you haven't listened to those, definitely go back and check that out. Today, we are going to talk about how to eat for the body you want, and we're going to discuss the basics of nutrition for that outcome. So why should we even focus on nutrition? When we think about weight loss, most of the time, we'll think about nutrition, but we really hit it hard when it comes to the exercise. And the reason you want to focus on nutrition is because your weight loss, your fat loss goals, that is usually 70 to 80% at the very least nutrition based. You cannot just exercise and eat whatever you want because it takes a lot more than you think to burn off the calories alone. Doubtful, I have to tell you that, because we all start off that way. We're just like, let me just hit it hard in the gym so I can eat whatever I want. At best, you might lose a few pounds. At mediocre, you'll stay the same. At worst, you're like, how am I gaining weight? And I am like going hard in the paint in the gym. And it's because of nutrition. So let me give you an example of that. Let's just say, you're running late when you get off from work. You don't have time to make dinner. And so you roll up in McDonald's drive-thru. You order a quarter pounder with cheese, a large Coke, and large fry, just basically a quarter pounder meal. Well, if you do that, what you're looking at is 1,300 calories, 49 grams of fat, 185 grams of carbs. Yeah, you got 37 grams of protein, but kumbaya, y'all. You also have 87 grams of sugar. The sodium is 1,620. Now, I'm not talking about this to crush your dreams, even though low-key I kind of am. But it's also just giving you some perspective of what it would take to burn something like that off. And if you are a 160-pound person, you would have to run for over 2 hours at 5 miles per hour to burn off just the calories from that meal. And I'll let you know, just spoiler alert, it doesn't really work like that. I'm just giving you an example of the exercise exchange for those calories. If you weigh more than 160, you still have to maintain a decent pace, but you'll burn more than that. And if you weigh less than 160, you gotta do more. So nutrition is important. Let me give you another example with Chick-fil-A. Here in the South, Chick-fil-A is known as God's chicken. But let me tell you, it is not that godly when you look at what it does to you. And I will admit, I dine at Chick-fil-A from time to time. It's not very often, and it is usually a kid's meal when I do. But let me give you a little rundown of what that would look like. Let's say you order a deluxe chicken sandwich meal with a large fry and a large lemonade. Here's what that looks like. 1,400 calories, 57 grams of fat, 187 grams of carbs, and 82 grams of sugar. To try and burn that off, you would have to run at 5 miles per hour for almost 3 hours. Okay, is that worth the my pleasure in real life? And for my last crush of your dreams, Zaxby's. Even if you roll up in Zaxby's and order their grilled chicken salad, you're still, for grilled chicken, it's 720 calories, 40 and a half grams of fat, 1805 for your sodium, 42 grams of carbs, and 12 grams of sugar for a grilled chicken sandwich, y'all. So again, that is 5 miles per hour, and it would take you about an hour and 15 minutes to make that happen. So that just gives you 3 examples of how, like, you cannot out-exercise bad nutrition. And again, that was just for one meal. Now, another reason we focus on nutrition is when you don't eat right, you don't have the energy, focus, or motivation to even exercise at your fullest capacity. And then the excess fat, starches, and sodium from eating not so great causes water retention, and it shows up mainly as belly fat. So what does it take for you to eat for the body that you want? Well, it can actually be boiled down to a simple equation. Eating for the body you want requires you to eat the right foods plus the right portions plus 2 to 4 meals a day plus water. And that will give you the body you want. So the right foods and the right portions, 2 to 4 meals per day, and then water. And I am going to break each of those things down for you. So what does it mean to get in the right foods, right? We hear that so often. You need to eat right. What does that mean? Well, eating right doesn't have to be boring, but as much as possible, you want to go for non-processed, single ingredient foods to make up your meals. So what does that mean? Everything is processed to a certain extent, but what I'm saying is that it's showing up in its truest form. To give you an example, a single ingredient food is something like a potato. Okay, a potato is a single ingredient food, and in and of itself, it's not processed when it's a whole potato. But then if we do what we do to it to make it a potato chip, now it's a processed food. So we had something that was single ingredient, processed the heck out of it by a couple of different factors and adding in different ingredients, and now you took that one thing that was good and you made it delicious, but not so great for you. So you want to go for non-processed single ingredient foods. So if I'm going to put together an example of something like that, I'm going to give you a boring version and then I'm going to give you the same thing and how it can be great. So let's say that you take chicken, single ingredient food, broccoli, single ingredient food, and rice, single ingredient food. Now you could bake the chicken, steam the rice, and then of course you have steamed broccoli, and that's one way. However, you can also take those same 3 ingredients, jazz it up, and you could have like a chicken stir fry. You could bread the chicken, you could roast the broccoli and make a fried rice. You can add in other spices with that and then have like a Cuban chicken with rice as well. And all of those things are still those single ingredient foods, but when you season them differently, you can come up with a lot of different things that are not so boring. So let's talk about what makes up a meal. A meal consists of a protein plus a carb plus a fat, and just because I'm me, I always will add in a veggie. So for my clients, they know that a meal is a protein, carb, fat, veggie. And I'm going to break down each of those things as well. So proteins are the most important building block of bones, muscle, cartilage, skin, and blood. And it can be animal or non-animal sources for your protein. Okay. And then when we talk about carbs, carbs are super important. We like to think of them as like the things that mess up everything that we're really trying to do right for ourselves, but that's not true. Carbs are absolutely an essential macronutrient, and the protein, carb, and a fat is known as a macronutrient. So carbohydrates provide fuel for your brain and your central nervous system, and it gives energy to the cells in the body. It is your body's quick source of energy. Now, when we're talking about these carbs, they should come mostly from vegetables, but carbs are also, they are starchy and they're non-starchy. So carbs also include fruits and vegetables, okay, as well as, of course, the things that we know and love, like our fries, potatoes, breads, things of that nature. And the last macronutrient are fats. So fats are the source of energy that our body prefers. We actually need fat to consume fat in order to burn fat. It's also important for certain vitamin and mineral absorption, nerve and brain function, and also maintaining healthy skin and other tissues. It's also important for our joints. So protein, carb, fat, those are our three main macronutrients that are super important. But there are a couple more that we need to consider as well. Now, as much as I've vilified sodium with just telling you how the fast food options, how great the amount of sodium is, it is actually an essential mineral that the body can only get from food. Sodium helps us to absorb amino acids from proteins, glucose, and water. Sodium also helps to regulate our blood pressure and plays a role in nerve impulse transmission, cardiac function, and muscle contraction. Now, when we talk about how much sodium, it is definitely not those crazy numbers that I gave you for one meal. Crazy enough, what I talked about in those one individual meals are what we should be having for a full day. So ideally, we really only want to get in anywhere between 1,500 and 1,700 milligrams of sodium a day for your best health and to reduce your risk for heart and kidney disease, as well as diabetes, weight gain, and high blood pressure. Now, when you get in enough potassium, which is a micronutrient from dark leafy green vegetables, it actually helps to counteract the effects of sodium. So if you know you're getting something that's really salty or you're out at a restaurant, definitely make sure to get in some dark leafy greens to help counteract that. Other things that are necessary for our bodies, sugar. Crazy enough, it helps to power our cells and makes up the backbone of our DNA. But we shouldn't consume way too much sugar. It should be limited to about 10% of our total calories. I don't really coach people on counting calories. So what you do want to make sure of is that we are really getting in very little added sugar. And if we're going to count that, then it is about 25 grams of added sugar per day. And then no more than 100 grams total sugar, including natural sugars that you would get from fruits, vegetables, milk, things of that nature. So yeah, when we were talking about some of those examples from before, like the Coke alone has about 4 times as much sugar, especially added sugar, than you needed. And then another one we need to factor in is fiber. Fiber is super important, and it actually is a carb. Fiber helps to stabilize our energy and sugar levels. It slows down the absorption of sugar into our bloodstream and helps us to stay fuller for a longer period of time. When we have enough fiber, it helps with our weight loss and weight maintenance, decreases our risk for high cholesterol, diabetes, and heart disease, and of course, it keeps things moving in the bathroom. So we can get in more fiber with the skins of fruit, root vegetables, whole fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, and then also eating the skins of things like potatoes and apples and stuff like that. So those are some of the right foods. Remember, protein, carb, fat, veggie. So when I talk about vegetables, of course, I'm focusing mainly on dark leafy green veggies and, of course, vegetables made in their best state possible. You can have a salad, but kumbaya, if you put like a half cup of salad dressing on there, that kind of really destroys the fact that it was ever a salad. So do be mindful of the amounts of dressing, butter, things of that nature. You can have that, but just don't drown the poor vegetables in that. So now let's talk about the right portions. The right portions of food really kind of depends on what you're eating. So you could, of course, best way is to get a food scale, some measuring cups, and this isn't going to be your way of life, so don't come for me like that. I'm just telling you that when you get a food scale, it will be the shock of your life to see what a proper portion is versus what we typically like to put on our plate. But there's an easier way of going about this as well. So take out your hand. Take out your hand just like I am right now and just look at your hand. So it's going to be palm up. Look at your hand. So when we look at the palm of your hand, not including any of those finger digits, just right there in the palm of your hand when your hand is flat, that is a decent portion of protein. Now for women, we're talking about each meal about one of those palm size and the thickness of that palm as well. Now, that could be a surprise Pikachu face because sometimes we get in a lot more than that, or sometimes we're getting in a lot less. Women, we typically don't eat a lot of protein, or not as much as we should. Now for guys, depending on your size and everything else, it could possibly be 2 palm size for a meal. Now make a fist, like a real fist, y'all, like a legit fist. Okay. Like you're about to punch somebody's lights out. Now, that is a serving of vegetables. So when you put your fist down there, when we're talking about, like, again, how large your fist is and how tight that fist is, that is a serving of vegetables. So the height, the width, all of that, that's a vegetable portion. For guys, we can even get in 2 of those. For women, typically 1. I'm always going to say a half plate of vegetables. Okay. Now, when we're talking about fats, give me your thumb. I know that's crazy. Again, another surprise Pikachu face, but your thumb and the width of your thumb is giving you the amount of fat. So when we're talking about nuts, cheese, butter, seeds, things of that nature, it's really disrespectful, I know, but that is a portion of fats. And then for fruits, still, hand is out. Cup your hand, just lightly, nothing too crazy. Cup your hand, okay? And again, your palm up. And you're looking at that small amount in the palm of your hand, not including any finger joints or anything like that. That is your portion of fruit. Okay, so you can throw some hand signs. Just be careful where you throw them because you just want people to know I'm just trying to figure out the portion of my foods. Okay, no threats. So that's another way that you can figure out your portions. Another way, if you just want to use the plate itself, I always say half a plate of vegetables. The top quarter of the plate is protein. The other top quarter of the plate is your starch. And that is something that you can use anywhere. So half plate veggies, top protein, other top starch. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about those 2 to 4 meals a day. What does that mean? We know what a meal is. We know what the proper or the right foods are. So frequency would be 2 to 4 meals a day. So eating regularly, which is anywhere between every 3.5 to 4 hours, helps to keep our blood sugar and insulin levels from dipping too low, which can cause cravings for carbs and sugars because our bodies think that we're stressed. And it keeps us from making not so great food choices because we're hungry/hangry. Okay. But we also want to be mindful that we're not eating too often. So if you're eating too often, which is every 2 to 3 hours or less, that kind of keeps you in a grazing state, which causes an oversecretion of insulin. Insulin is something that's absolutely important for the digestive process. But when we eat too often, and there's an oversecretion of insulin, that can lead to insulin resistance and increase your chances for type 2 diabetes and the storage of body fat. So I know we were told back in the day, because I used to tell people this back in the day, that we should be eating every 2 to 3 hour small meals. 1, we weren't doing small meals. 2, the science has absolutely debunked that as a way for us to increase our metabolism. It doesn't work like that. Our bodies need rest, okay? So that we're not just digesting food every minute of the day. So you want to listen to your body and understand your hunger cues. And this might be a trial and error thing if you really haven't done that before in the past. So hunger cues are things like your stomach's growling, you're feeling empty in your stomach, you're feeling a little low energy. And sometimes because we just push off eating for whatever reason, we aren't used to eating that often, or we're used to only eating 1 meal a day, or skipping meals, or skipping entire days of eating. So if that is true for you, to get yourself reset and getting you back to a normal hunger and fullness cues, you might need to eat smaller meals more frequently for like a week or 2, and then start to stretch it out again. It takes about 4 to 5 hours for food to actually leave your stomach. Okay. So now let's talk about water. Water is so important, and sometimes we don't understand how important water is to our weight loss goals or just being a healthy person in general. So water helps to flush out toxins. That is a real thing. It helps to increase our metabolism. It acts as a natural detox, a natural appetite suppressant. And water is, of course, great for our hair, our skin, and our nails. If you do the little thing of drinking 16 ounces of water first thing in the morning, it helps with rehydration. It's kind of like we're little flowers. flowers, and we're wilted flowers, and we drink the water first thing and we become alive flowers. It's a beautiful thing. So rehydration, digestion, and metabolism. That 16 ounces of water first thing in the morning before you do anything else actually increases your metabolism by up to 33%. And then if you continue to drink water, if you continue to drink 16 ounces of water in a given hour, it increases your metabolic rate by as much as 30% for the next 30 to 40 minutes. Y'all, did you hear what I just said? So that means the simple act of drinking water increases your metabolism. Not working out, not walking, water. Okay. So if you commit to drinking half your body weight in water, you can expect to lose even more weight. You know how you have those folks that are just like, oh my God, I started drinking a gallon of water and the weight just kind of fell off of me. This is why. So bottoms up. All right. Now let's also talk about how you keep track of some of these things. The common thing that people really love to do is to, especially in the beginning, count calories, macros, and points. It almost goes without fail that I've met with someone who has done this or think that they want to do this. Okay. They're like, no, I like counting my macros. No, you don't. Because if you did, like we probably wouldn't be talking. So I'm going to give you some of the pros and cons of counting calories, points, macros. Okay. Now, some of the pros, it's really simple. It gives you the ability to stay accountable to a number goal. So it gives you like speed limits. The other pro is that it can help you plan your meals in advance to make sure that you won't go over the goal that you have for your calories, macros, and points. Now, some of the cons, by the way, that was it for the pros. Like, done. That was it. The cons, there are a lot. One, the biggest thing is that it is such a pain in the butt to keep track of. Now, if you're going for those single ingredient foods like chicken, broccoli, rice, it is a little bit easier because those are 3 foods. But go somewhere where there's a casserole dish. Now you got to painstakingly try to figure out how much broccoli is in this casserole, how much Parmesan cheese is in that risotto. Because for you to accurately track the calories, especially if someone else made it, like, yeah, you can go in MyFitnessPal and look up risotto, but is that really the risotto that you had? It's a pain. And then, here's what always happens. I'll have a client that's like, oh no, I love to track my calories. Lies. But then they'll track their calories when everything is air quote good. But then on those bad days, those days where things just got a little out of hand, all of a sudden it's like a blank day. Cause I'll let people live, right? Like my clients, I'm like, all right, then, I'll tell them the pros and cons. I'm like, all right, then like, we'll do it your way. And then inevitably the weekend, something weird about the weekends where they don't track their calories. I'm like, yo, what happened? Did you not eat? And they're like, well, yeah, but things went a little haywire. Or they log in that one meal, like their breakfast. I had a green protein smoothie. And then it's like crickets for the rest of the weekend until Monday. And then they're just like, I had a green protein smoothie. I'm like, yo, what happened? What happened? You don't want to keep track of that because then you have to confront your demons and figure things out. The other thing is that counting macros, points, calories, all that stuff, it's not sustainable long term. I have very rarely met folks that legit kept track of it every day, every meal, honest, for even a full year. If they did, they were competitors. And actually, even like bodybuilding competitors, fitness competitors, it is super important for them to keep things to, the nth degree with their food. So they are better about it. But even after they finish competing, they're not trying to do that anymore. Okay. And then the other con, it can also create a very unhealthy relationship with food, which is where I really come from when I tell people like, you don't want to live this way, because you'll start doing exactly what I did in the beginning. You'll say, oh my God, I was in Chick-fil-A and man, that Chick-fil-A deluxe sandwich, remember it's God's chicken, and those fries and that lemonade, that was so good. I was having a day, I left my lunch and my boss is like ill. And so I had that. Man, I can't believe this chick on this radio station just told me like I ate all these calories. That's not good. I'm going to try and burn that off. And so you will be one of those folks. I know there's going to be one person on here listening to this that's just like, I can exercise this off. So you're going to be that one person at the gym or running around doing like a half marathon trying to get off one Chick-fil-A meal. Okay. And what happens is that I'm even guilty of this. When I started off and I was counting calories, I would be like, "Ooh, that was a lot for that. That cookie was a little bit more than I thought it was." And then I'm trying to like exercise off the cookie. Y'all, that's not it. That's not what you want to do. So it creates this unhealthy relationship with food where you inevitably get to a point where you're either trying to severely cut back on a meal or you're trying to exercise to burn off the calories. The other thing that it doesn't do is account for food quality. Macros could be a little bit different when it comes to that, but it still doesn't account for food quality. All chicken is not made the same, y'all. Just like, every protein bar is not made the same. You could have everything that's perfect within your macros. You can make McDonald's work for your macros, legit, but that doesn't mean that that's good food for you. Okay, you see people like with every type of diet, they want to hack something because heaven forbid you just decide that diets are not the best thing at all. The keto folks they are experts at this. They're like, okay, I can't have my normal cookie. I'm going to make a fat bomb cookie. And yeah, it might fit macros or whatever they're trying to do, but that doesn't mean that this is a good idea for your health. This is not just about weight loss. This is about weight loss in a healthy, sustainable, keyword part 2, healthy way. Okay. So whenever you're counting those things, it doesn't account for food quality. I know someone here has done Weight Watchers and fast fooded your way through your Weight Watchers points. And then you were like, well, I ate within my points, but then you're like, why isn't it working? Because your food quality is trash. Okay. Lastly, as I go on my rant, I'm going to be like Adam Ruins Everything and tell you that calories aren't even accurate to begin with. Calories when they're taken, like there is an allotment for it to be plus or minus 200 calories. Do you understand what that means? That means that little 100-calorie snack pack that you are really consuming could be, maybe it's 120 calories, maybe it's 200 calories. Because when we're getting a snapshot of a calorie, we count calories based on that original food that was in the tracker in the first place. It could have been 20 years ago, a medium apple. By the way, what is a medium apple? Okay, we don't even know what that means, but it's from that medium apple, from that part of the world that they did a breakdown, scientific laboratory breakdown to see the calories. Okay, now an apple in Washington and an apple in Florida are two very different apples of what makes up their vitamin nutrient composition, because it depends on the minerals and the soil that the tree is, coming from. It depends on when was that apple picked. Was it at its nutrition prime, which most of the time it isn't. And then, is it a medium apple, like for real, or is it like a medium apple kind of? So calories aren't that accurate because it's so nuanced. And then that doesn't factor in nutrient absorption of those calories. Okay, so there's a lot of things of why we don't need to really count those points. We just need to trust our bodies, get to a point where we are emotionally good with our eating so that we can then trust our body's cues of when we're hungry, when we're full, make sure that we're eating not processed foods as much as possible, single ingredients as much as possible, but still having some fun. Well, y'all, that is my time. I hope that this was helpful for you. Let me know how this episode connected with you. You can find me on social media on Facebook and Instagram at Mix, M-I-X, Kitchen Fitness. And if you would like to see what it would look like for us to work together, you can go to my website at Mix, M-I-X, Kitchen Fitness and click the header Work With Me. Also, while you're there, check out my new free 3-day Busy Healthy Body weight loss course. In this course, I am walking you through the simple 3-step process to get you to start losing weight even with your busy schedule. So that is something that's free. You can find that on my Facebook page. You can find that on my website. It is on the very first page of my website, and sign up for that. Lastly, if you have any questions that you would like for me to answer on the next episode, you can email me at healthyhappyhotshow@gmail.com. Until next time, stay healthy, my friends.